Hello, hi. Okay, I hope we are live. I'm testing it on a new setup. I have a new internet connection, so just want someone to confirm if you can hear me well and if everything is all right. I do see some of you in the comments already. So I see Imran, Nasik, K2H, waiting for this. Thanks, Sid. Excellent. Just confirm again if you can hear me well, if you can see me. You should be able to see my screen, me. Great. Okay. I see a few of you. All right. Action Thomas, Laura. Yes, I can hear you. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I think before we get started, let's just quickly, if you're in the chat, just feel free to introduce yourself, just like put your name out there. But I think, yeah, we are on time, so we'll get started. So this is the openEHR Bootcamp Orientation Webinar. So I think this time we decided to do something really different. Usually what we do is we take on bootcamp participants, and all of the sessions are usually just for the bootcamp participants. This time we decided that the whole orientation webinar as well as the first 2 weeks are open to everyone. Okay, so welcome again on board. And if you have already bought the bootcamp, again, really nice that you're here as well. So this is week 0. So we are starting with just an orientation about what openEHR is all about. I just want to give you a glimpse at like the story behind openEHR, right? The real story. And again, I have Preetham in the chat as well. So he is from MedBlock's team, and he'll also help with the chat. If you have any questions or any links that I'm talking about, he would definitely be of help in the chat as well. Hi Preetham, thanks for joining this as well. So this is the orientation. So what we've actually planned for you is the week 1 week after this, you would also have a kickoff class, which again, if you sign up for the webinar, we'll automatically sign you up for the kickoff class. And finally, week 2, where you will be showing your demos. And each 2 weeks, we usually have something that you need to build. So we will discuss what you'll be building in week 1. Today, just take some time off, just to relax, maybe grab a drink or maybe grab something to eat. We'll just take a look at what openEHR is all about. Okay, so some of you may have joined this without knowing anything about what openEHR is. Maybe some of your bosses have enrolled you in the course. We do have a lot of people joining us because we already have a services engagement with them. So if you have absolutely no idea about what openEHR is, that's all right. So just know that there are these other things that sound like openEHR, but they're not openEHR. Okay, there is openEMR, and then there is openMRS. All of these are open source electronic health record solutions. Like it's a whole product, and this is really not the idea behind openEHR. Now, openEHR, I think, is a completely different idea. It's more of a standard than a product in itself. And I think the way openEHR has been growing in the past few years or even months, I would say, is incredible. And I think the big players, the Epics, the Cerners, they have a real reason to be worried about this movement. And again, I call this a movement because it's not just openEHR, it's this movement against vendor lock-in. Okay, so that's really what openEHR is all about, and then we'll explore like why this is the case and like what exactly openEHR provides here. Now, again, we've seen incredible adoption over time. Like every single conference that I go to in openEHR, I just see more and more people every single year, and it's incredible. Like I think there is definitely an exponential growth curve for openEHR because it's also just getting introduced and people are just getting into it. They're like understanding, okay, like this has the potential to change something massive. And again, the community honestly is still much smaller than something like FHIR or SNOMED City. Like openEHR is still, a small niche cult, if I have to put it. Like it's not mature yet. It's not, people aren't if you talk to a health IT crowd about openEHR, maybe 1 out of 100 will know. Now again, you're probably 1 out of those 100, and after this webinar, you'll probably understand a lot more. But again, really great that you're here. So let's get into it. So I think many of you are from different countries all around the world. I believe, and the reason why I really started down this journey, I'm a doctor by training, but I actually really think that in the time a doctor can save one life, right? I think that technology and just health IT has the potential to save thousands or even millions. And I resonate very deeply with this, and every single time I meet someone who asks me, hey, you became a doctor, but now you're not a doctor anymore. Why are you, what are you doing with your life? I usually tell them, hey, listen, we are basically doing the same thing. We are just trying to save people's lives, but then we just do it in different ways. And all of you who've joined me today, you probably would also be using technology in some way, form, or the other to save real lives. So let me know again, do you agree with this? If you do, again, introduce yourself in the chat. You're literally using technology. You're probably saving millions of people with what you do. So let me know where you're from, what your name is, and just what you're working on, right? It could be as small as you're just getting started, you're out of college, or you might be working on a real world project. Just let everyone else in the chat know, because again, it's a very small, close-knit community, and just people usually don't get to meet each other otherwise. There may be a few meetups in some cities, but then there has been a lot of cities where there is no such health IT event, or you may have another colleague who is also in the webinar who might be your neighbor, but you just don't know. So just introduce yourselves in the chat. Just let me know who you are, where you're from, and just a general overview of what you're working on. It will help others in the community connect with you. So who's this webinar for? So you either want to bring your ideas to life. So you're building something new, you're running a startup, you're building a company, or you're just trying to reimagine how healthcare should be done. Well, this is probably the right platform. Or you just want to accelerate your career, right? So you just want to get a better job. There are so many countries that are adopting these standards. There is so many people who just went openEHR, especially in Europe. It's getting crazy at this point. But you will at least have an understanding of how to use this technology to grow your career. For those who are building something, again, I think this is foundational, and this is very fundamental stuff. So yeah, I think both of you will learn quite a bit. So this is what we'll cover. Now, again, we are not going into the depths, but then these are the main key ideas, right? So why separating data from the application is the only way to build for healthcare. We'll see why this is the case. And we'll see how you can model once and use everywhere. That whole idea changes everything. Before openEHR, this wasn't really the case, but then I think once openEHR brought it to the table, a lot more people are looking into how you can do this, even outside of openEHR, okay? So, and why truly mastering openEHR requires you to build. We'll also take a look at how you can build, how anyone can build, even if you haven't written a single line of code in your life using the DARE framework. And finally, we'll just talk about how you can monetize your skills and make money using the skills that you have, right? Using openEHR skills. All right. So who am I? I am Dr. Sidharth Ramesh. I am the founder of MedBlocks. And again, you might know me from YouTube. You might know me from LinkedIn. This is indeed streaming on both platforms, YouTube and LinkedIn. However, I'm not sure if I can see the comments from LinkedIn, okay? So I'm not sure if the platform allows me to read comments from LinkedIn live, but I do see a lot of your comments from YouTube. So again, really, really great that you are able to join. Again, I see some introductions. Hi, I'm Thomas, new to openEHR, Lyon, France. Excellent, excellent. So just keep it going. I think I'll read out all the comments later on, and I'll also try to answer questions as we go by. So I've basically been building like 7+ years of just like health IT software for people. So started out small, but then now I think we have a good team, and then we basically build and deliver health IT solutions. And this is what we've done for governments. We worked with multiple governments, delivered multiple projects, some of them on openEHR, some of them on openEHR, like even the CDR or the central data repository of a particular country. And we worked with like big enterprises. Most of the time they're like just getting started with all of this, like, okay, how do you really use the standards? We've helped numerous startups just get from 0 to 1, right? Like how can they build a platform from scratch? And again, there are a lot of innovators around the world. A lot of our training material and all of our courses are loved by a lot of people. So overall, like our software touches more than like 1 million patients in 8 countries. Our training program is taken up by like hundreds of students, and like our community is growing. Like if you're on our Slack, then like hi. If you're not, like you can also join in. And yeah, so I think when openEHR was initially introduced, I think that is Dr. David Ingram. He's the creator of openEHR. He didn't really mean for it to be hard. Okay, so today, if you just take a look at the openEHR documentation, you'll just be like, okay, what is going on here? I don't know what all of this means. Can someone like help me understand what openEHR is really about, right? Like it wasn't really supposed to be hard. Now, that is what this orientation webinar is all about. The few important ideas, okay? I'm not gonna go into tech. We already have so many videos covering this. And again, you have access to the first 2 weeks, even if you joined here for free. So all you need to know is the important ideas, okay? And then it starts to make sense. So the first idea that openEHR really talks about is separating the data from the application, okay? So let's talk about this. What does that mean? What do you mean by separate the data from the application? And again, even if you don't take anything else from this webinar, if you just are able to understand this, like separate the data from the application, then I think I would be successful in teaching you openEHR. So if you take an application, right? If you take any application, what it does is that when you build an application, you build it with your own database, you build it with whatever that era's technology stack is, and the data of that application is stored in its database, right? Like that's how a typical application works. But what happens when you have to switch applications, right? And again, this happens around every 10 years. Usually there is a change in requirements. Usually any application gets outdated in 10 years, and then you gotta change to a new one. And then another 10 years, you gotta change to a new one. And then another 10 years, a new one again. What happens to the data, right? So again, you gotta think about the patient. Now the patient lives for 80 years, more than 80 years, but people are living longer. There is longevity care on the rise. So what happens when you have technology that by default expires every 10 years, and every single time you move to a new application, basically more or less the data either gets completely lost, or people spend millions of dollars trying to take this data and then map it to the new system, sometimes successfully, sometimes like very unsuccessfully. Like I've seen like millions being poured on these initiatives. I'm not even kidding. Okay, like try to get data out of an Epic system and move it to somewhere else, like you will know the pain. Now, what happens when this happens, right? Like, so you have the patient losing on their data over time. So as a patient gets older, and again, it's usually when they are the oldest that they need almost all of this data. And it's very unfortunate that when the patient is actually old and they really need that information, the data isn't there, right? So, and as an enterprise or as a health care providing organization, you're literally losing data every 10 years. You can't get it from another application into the next one. So what is my story? Like, where did I start? Like, how did I come here? So I am actually born to two doctors. Both my parents are ophthalmologists. They run their own practice. They have their own ophthalmology setup. And I just joined med school because like that's the usual thing to do in India. Like you usually have like two options. It's like you either be a doctor or an engineer, but if you're born to doctors, you actually only have one option. So like, how did I end up here? Like, what happened? So when I was doing my medical school, they basically had this thing where interns, or like residents, in India we call them interns, in the US it's like residents, but basically like you are studying and then you're just practicing immediately after your study. You need to do that for a year. It's almost like bonded labor, but they make you do all sorts of stuff, like any boring work that has to be done, you need to do it, right? Like, so that's on the left side, that's me sitting in the operating theater with a mosquito bat, and I think the reason is because you shouldn't allow flies to come into the operating theater, because that was an issue, and if it did, and if it sat on one of the instruments, then it gets unsterile, so the patient might have an infection. So like, I was on fly swatting duty, like I had to kill the flies. So the reason I tell that is they used to make us do all sorts of weird work, and one of the other things that we had to do was copy data from one application to another. And it got so ridiculous to the point where every day there would be, the lab results would come in on one application. I would open it, I would see all of the data, and again, like all of this is fully digitized, it's already there in their respective fields. And then I had to manually look through all of that, copy it, and then I need to put it in another application, again, digitally, right? And this took me, in a day I had to cover like 40 to 50 patients, so it took me more than 3 hours to just sit down and like copy all of these lab results for all of these patients, and I got really tired of it. So I thought, okay, you know what, I'm really tired of this. I am just I was already interested in computers and in programming. I just went around trying to learn programming languages, but this was the motivator for me to like actually get down there and be like, okay, I'm gonna learn Python and I'm gonna automate this. I'm gonna write a small script that like automatically pulls up these applications, it copies the data automatically. I'm not gonna go do this every single day for hours, okay? And I did that, I finished all of that, and then like a week passes and other people find out about this, like how is this guy like going back in 5 minutes when it takes us like 3 hours to go. So that one system where I installed that script, every day morning I see a queue and there is like 20 people in front of me who are like entering their patients and like getting their data out. So it got ridiculous. Like I was like, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the admin and I'm gonna try and get them to like actually install this on all systems. You know what, like I'm gonna do that. And even before I decided to go to admin calls me and they're like, hey, you know what, you can't do this thing that you've been doing because our IT vendor called and they said that you are hitting their system too much and it's not allowed according to our contract, blah, blah, blah. Please remove what you have on that system. And like, I actually wanted to go to them and talk about installing this for everyone, but then they're like, okay, you know what, that one system where you installed it, you can't do that anymore. So that's when I realized that there is something very deeply wrong about this, right? Like, so the electronic health records are somehow anti-innovation by default. Like there is someone on the ground who understood a workflow better and they actually did something to make lives faster. Like, and again, even with 20 people waiting in the queue, I think we all almost got done in less than half an hour because the script was so fast at like copying all of this information. But they just asked us to remove that. Like, so think about how many man hours were even like being taken. And imagine if I had copied that wrongly and like somebody had like 100%, someone copies that data incorrectly into the next application, right? And that could cost someone's life. But like the vendors that I thought about, right? Like all of the vendors of the systems, the lab vendors, the EMR vendors, all of them were somehow like anti-innovation by default. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? They're like holding on to the data within their application. They're like, okay, we are not going to let this data go outside. This is ours. This is our property, right? So they almost build a moat against this data, right? Like, and this is not an isolated problem. It's not just me. If you take the news, like, okay, Epic is blocking data. EHR vendors are fighting back against the government, telling that their data should be a little freer. People are just, they want to make more money. I get it. But, when it comes to healthcare data, not exposing it is really the difference between life and death at some points in time. And again, all of these EHR vendors who are just trying to block it and like, okay, no, I'm not going to let this data go outside. I find that very problematic. And again, I think many healthcare companies, many hospitals find this problematic as well. But what option do they have? Because they don't know about openEHR. So it's almost like, you know, the EHR vendors are basically like shielding this data. Like the patients and practitioners are on the other side, but the EHR vendors are like, okay, no, this is my data. So the first idea that openEHR brings to the table is, you know what, this shouldn't be how it is. You should separate the data platform. That should be its own thing. And then on top of that, you can have apps come and go, okay? So you can buy these apps if you want, you can build these apps if you want, but maybe one app is not useful anymore. Okay, sure, throw it away. The data doesn't go anywhere. The data stays in the data platform. And then you take another app and then you continue from where you left off. This is the fundamental idea behind openEHR, okay? Separate the data from the application. Applications come and go. Replace them, buy them, build them, do whatever you want. The data is here to stay. And you own the data, right? Like the hospital or the person who is in charge of entering the data owns the data. Now again, it's like crazy to think about, but practitioners spend almost their whole life entering all of this data. The patient goes through so much hardship to produce this data, and the EHR vendor just comes in and they're like, oh, you know what, this is ours. We can't allow you to access this information. Like, it's just crazy. But that is the first idea, like separate the application from the data, okay? Now, we talked about this. Okay, now applications are going. Now what happens when you replace that with the data platform? One application may come, then the second application may happen like another 10 years after that, you might have a replacement, but you don't lose the data. The data is still there, it's in the standard format on the data platform, and you know, everything is cool. The patient lives up to 80, you have all of this data from 8 years ago. Now, the main question is, this needs a standard API, right? Like because different apps have to now agree on what the right way to talk to this data platform is. What is the right way to store this information? What is the right way to actually persist all of this this data? Now, this standard API is really what openEHR is, right? Like, for example, this is not new. Now you have MRI machines, you have CT machines. DICOM is like the standard, right? Like we've already done this. There are so many devices in a hospital. All of them talk to a PACS server. They use DICOM, but openEHR just does this for structured data. Okay, so you have different applications. And all of these applications have to store structured clinical records. Now, what is the standard API to do that? That is what openEHR is. Okay. Again, I hope I've made it clear like what openEHR is. At least like let's. I just want a quick break. All right. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions so far? Anything? Let's just let me know in the comments. I don't want to. Keep talking if you have any other questions. Is this clear? Yes, all good. This is what openEHR is. You're separating the applications from the data. If you have any questions or still don't understand, let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer real quick, okay? All right. Now again, openEHR is being adopted around the world. This is a chart of like all the deployments that openEHR has. And again, like so many people like quickly starting to adopt openEHR. I made these slides a few months ago, and it's already outdated. Okay, like it's so many new. Like Catalonia recently announced that their whole region would go with openEHR, and then you know what? Spain came along, and they're like, you know what? We are going to go openEHR too. Like we have this consensus now, and like the whole country of Spain is going to go openEHR. Then there is the whole country of Brazil. There is like the NHS Trust. There is like so many other. There are so many other organizations around the world who are going openEHR. Right, and this is like full countrywide adoption. A whole city of Moscow runs on openEHR. Now, the second main idea that I want you to take away is that of maximal data modeling. So the idea is you model once and you use everywhere. So I have someone ask me the main difference from FHIR. What is this? How is it different from FHIR? I'm really glad you asked, because that's what we're going to be talking about. And I see that is also the question that a lot of other people have asked. So excellent. Thank you for asking this question. So what does FHIR do differently from openEHR? Okay, so let's talk about that. I didn't actually always know about openEHR. I initially thought this was FHIR. Okay, I thought HL7 FHIR was the standard. Why don't we just build a complete solution on top of FHIR? Let's just take FHIR data repositories and do this, right? I did this, honestly. I built an EHR that was purely based on FHIR. I did this in my life, like I've done this. So, and again, like why? Because when you usually search for API standards for healthcare, like FHIR is the first result that you get. The openEHR team have done a very poor job at like actually optimizing their SEO. But anyway, that's a different story. But you get FHIR, and FHIR is also like more popular. A lot of countries adopting FHIR as well. So in a way, I think Smart on FHIR, if you know about what that is, also does this. It separates the data from the application. You have a data platform. Sometimes this data platform is just a big EHR vendor like Epic or Cerner, but then you have applications that are able to function on top of the data platform. So in essence, FHIR does fulfill this criteria, right? Like FHIR can be a standard API that can be used between the data platform and the application. But what's the problem? What's the problem with FHIR? And again, it's great. Like all of these are smart apps. There is like 500 and something, probably thousands right now of Smart on FHIR apps that are all functioning. But when I actually tried to build an EHR using only FHIR, like the main problem that I came up with is like, how do I model this again? Like, how do I store something like this? So let's take a simple example. I have blood pressure. How do I store this in FHIR? Again, I have so many options. I looked up, the FHIR standard, the FHIR international standard does not tell me how to model blood pressure. They tell me, okay, you can maybe use the observation resource, but then even using observation, there's like so many different ways, right? Like, so for example, you could have a single observation resource and you could have two components, systolic and diastolic, right? This is how the FHIR US implementation guide does it. They tell you like, okay, this is how you do it. The Indian implementation guide tells you that you should actually model the systolic and diastolic blood pressure as two different observation resources. Okay, and Cerner, which again is supposed to follow the US core, for some reason represents blood pressure with three resources, and they completely split out the blood pressure method and location of measurement as its own observation resource. Like I don't even know where to start, right? So a simple data point, right, in FHIR, you just have blood pressure. It's not even that hard. It's like, it's there. Like everybody needs blood pressure for any EHR, right? Like for any healthcare product. How do you record it? People have come up with their own versions. Like this is like Cerner's version. So I was just like, what is going on here? Like, please, how do I model blood pressure? Like I just need an answer to that. So this again, like I read a little bit more about this, and there is this whole thing about like abusing resources for different things. Like everybody uses observation for almost everything, and they just like go crazy with how exactly something is modeled. Like you just have observation with components, literally like you can do that. But again, like health IT is complex, right? Like and healthcare data is complex. So it's just people trying to think that they've modeled it in FHIR somehow using this particular thing, but then like healthcare data just comes at you. And like I think FHIR is excellent at certain things. Now I do still think that when you are exchanging information from one place to another, and two people need to sort of agree on something, and both of you have a set of common data elements, like that's what FHIR was all about. Like it's about black box interoperability. So you have two different systems. How do these two systems throw information at each other? Both of you need to accept on a common standard set of things. And FHIR works great for those use cases, right? Like I talked to Graham, right? Like what does he say about like, okay, using FHIR for actually storing stuff? A lot of people are using FHIR natively for storage. And I know you're against this, and I've seen a lot of your other talks where you've explicitly stated that FHIR for storage may not be such a good idea, but we are again seeing this pattern where people are separating the apps from the data, and then they have this data platform and they build their apps on top of the data platform. What are your opinions on this kind of usage of FHIR?
It's not that I think it's a bad idea. What I think is we designed FHIR we design it for interop, and so it's denormalized with boundaries that are chosen by considerable community discussion to represent resilient, robust units of exchange. And those units of exchange are not the units that you would choose as storage units inside your system.
So we have, we have it from Graham, but there's always been like other people who keep talking about like, okay, use FHIR for building an EHR on top of. But the problem is like, I did try to do this. I'm not coming at it from nowhere, and I genuinely tried to do this. Now, again, the problem here is that FHIR starts with a common data model. Okay, so you have the FHIR core or you have the FHIR international. And then it extends this common data model to different FHIR profiles. So you have the US doing its own thing, you have India doing its own thing, and Germany is over there doing its own thing. And what happens when each of them do this is that this is not interoperable anymore. You have data that, again, is stored in different ways, and because like it's extending that, this is not interoperable anymore, right? Like they might store blood pressure in a different way, they might store pulse rate in a different way, and again, they don't really match when you try to put all of these applications together. And healthcare internationally is like, the patient's body is almost the same. And you do need similar data points to capture all of this information globally. And FHIR just doesn't provide enough of a framework or enough of the data models for people to say, okay, I have confidence that this is how I represent this particular data point. You always need to sit within a particular profile, okay? So this is not interoperable, so what can we do? And again, it's like funny things in FHIR where like someone is like, I'm learning 50 interesting ways how to model death in FHIR. Like but again, this is not a joke, because there are easy ways to do this. Because what happens in FHIR is that you have the international FHIR core, and then someone profiles on top of that like US core, but then someone takes US core and then they extend it further, right? So you keep having this thing called profile proliferation where everybody keeps extending and doing their own thing, and then finally you have like 50 different ways of representing the same data point. Now, this is really bad for health data platforms, because what happens if each application like puts it in, and again, I see someone in the comments talking about interop versus intraop. That's absolutely right, Laura. So interop is when you need two black boxes to communicate with one another. I think we saw that in the previous like diagram. Intra-op is when within the same organization you need different apps to intercommunicate with one another, and they need to like be on the same page. What openEHR really solves is intraoperability. Within the same context, how do I do this? Now, when I was again like searching for this question, like how do I model this? That's when I met the openEHR community. I was traveling around, I went to conferences, and I really saw them, and something really clicked. When they showed me, there's this thing called the openEHR Clinical Knowledge Manager, and this is years and years of effort that people have put in to model how exactly something like blood pressure looks like, and that's the picture. So many of these data fields, right, like the systolic, diastolic, mean arterial pressure, pulse pressure, the position of measurement, the confounding factors, the sleep status. So many of these data points have already been modeled, and this is years and years and years of community effort and people doing this. And this is just one archetype, right? Like, and there's like so many man hours and woman hours that went into this one single data model. And there are thousands of these in openEHR. If you just go and search like 1,254 archetypes when the slides were made, probably a lot more now. And just that one thing alone should be enough for you to like think about, okay, wait, there is someone who's already done this, and we are reinventing these data models every single time. It doesn't make sense. And again, this is FHIR, right? Where you're having this common data model, you're extending, it's not interoperable, everybody is like doing their own thing. openEHR tells that you instead have these maximal data models. So as the international CKM in openEHR, they model every single data point possible, okay? It's not just what we think is important right now. No. Model every single data point that a particular clinically relevant thing can have. Everything, right? And once you do that, anyone who takes it and extends it, what they do is they don't extend it, they actually water it down. They don't use some fields. They cancel things out. And because of that, you always have interoperability. So a blood pressure stored in one particular openEHR system and a blood pressure stored in another, even though they might be using different fields and some may not use the others, they are always interoperable, right? Because you are always taking a maximal data model and then you're watering it down. So again, how do I model BP in openEHR? It's there. It's super easy to get started. You can just look at all of these different fields. It's already there. It's already done for you. You don't need to worry about this. And I didn't even know that blood pressure had these many fields. Like, I'm a doctor, but how many of you knew that blood pressure could possibly have these many different fields? So the third idea that I want to talk about is why you really need to build in order to master openEHR. Now, I think a lot of you have joined the bootcamp with the notion that you're going to have a very tough time building in the next 10 weeks. I know some of you are already developers, you will be fine, but we do have a lot of non-programmers who join us too. So I just want to set the motivation for why building is important, okay? And why this is so key to understanding the whole picture. Now, I think openEHR at the end of the day is an implementation detail, right? Like it's a standard where we are talking about, okay, how does these apps work together? You can conceptually understand it, but for you to really, really understand, so again, there is a difference between a doctor or someone who's on the outside who looks at something and they're like, hey, I don't see the feature that I want. What do I do? To them going down below, understanding deeply what this particular standard is all about, and then telling that it should be possible to build this feature that I want. And almost every innovator that I see in health IT have made this transition at some point to like, hey, I don't know what this is, or like, this is like weird, I don't see what I want here, to like, okay, you know what, I know about this, and then I can do this, I can build this. And this actually makes a lot of difference, especially if you are an administrator, or if you're just like looking at health IT in general and you're like, okay, why are things so expensive? Where is all my money going? And then like you just look underneath the tip of the iceberg and then you see like, oh, there are 10 different applications, each using 10 different protocols to talk to 10 other applications. So it's just common sense, if you have so many different custom protocols and interfaces, obviously you will have a lot of integration happening to even do something basic, right? And then if you switch and if you actually make the change, then you're like, oh, that saved me so much money. That actually has an impact. Now I have all my data in one place. So it makes a difference. It makes a real meaningful difference in understanding and going below the tip of the iceberg and actually looking at how things work, okay? Now, openEHR again, it's not even that hard. In fact, like we'll go through this in the next few weeks, but then all you need to understand is these archetypes that I talked about are these maximal data models. You have all of these. You take them, you constrain them, you put multiple archetypes together, and you can create what is known as a template. Okay. In fact, all of you will be creating a template in the next 2 weeks. That is the exercise for the first module. But the template is sort of like an empty form. Okay, super easy, right? Like it's just an empty form. Another thing that you have in openEHR is the EHR, or a patient record. You can assume that there is a big file with all of the patient's information. Now, a composition is sort of like a filled form. So you will be hearing these words throughout the course. So I don't want you to be super confused, but again, a template is just like you are putting together different information points, you're making that form. A composition is once you fill out that form and you're like storing it inside an EHR, that is a composition. Now that's it, honestly. Like everything else in openEHR just like is a derivation of these few concepts. So once you know a template, an EHR, a composition, you just have ways to store a composition, you have ways to query data back from it. That's it. That's like technically all openEHR is all about. Now, I actually want all of you to build throughout the bootcamp, okay? And I'll tell you how. Even if you have zero programming experience, you can still build, okay? So that's where we have the DARE framework. which again, I'll talk a bit about like how I really came up with this, or like why I think this is possible. When I was doing this data copying, remember I talked about like I kind of delved into programming. I didn't really get into it fully. I was trying to read different books, and I think the moment it actually clicked and then I started actually building stuff was when I really had a problem to solve. I wanted to get away from this 3R data filling nonsense. So I actually put in the effort and I learned something, and the book was super helpful. Like, it's just like automate the boring stuff with Python. I am doing boring stuff every day. I sort of can learn Python. So like, okay, cool. So I think the real reason why I even learned how to code in the first place was because this is like pre-ChatGPT, like pre-LLMs, is because I had a problem to solve. Okay. Now, I think anyone can do this today with AI, and that's exactly what the DARE framework is all about. So the first thing is, again, differentiate concepts from the syntax. Do not get lost in the syntax. So there is HTTP, and then there is how you do that in the browser, right? Like you make a GET request in the browser, you put that in the URL. Like, don't worry about the syntax, okay? There is the RESTful API, there is like how you do that in code. There is JSON, like, okay, it's just a data format, and then how you actually store that, how you actually create that particular format. Now, anyone can understand concepts, like you've done this your whole life. All you need to do is go 2 levels deep. So what I mean by that is, if you're learning what HTTP is all about, try to look at everything that's related to HTTP. Like if you go to Wikipedia, you'll like see, okay, what is this all about? And then go inside those concepts and try to understand what they are all about. So like go 2 levels deep at least. Now, understand how these connect to each other. And again, like AI is super, super helpful here. Try to ask any AI model, explain a concept like I'm 5 years old. Like try to learn it. It's infinitely patient. It can teach you anything, right? Like you're able to learn almost anything today. The second thing that you have to do is like refine the syntax, okay? Now you gotta absorb these concepts, like understand, go to 2 levels deep, ask AI to explain this. And you can actually get AI to refine the syntax for you. You don't need to learn the syntax fully today anymore. You just need to learn the basics of the syntax, what that is all about, and then use AI to generate the syntax for you, okay? Now you still need to understand the concepts, but then almost 90% of the syntax is done by AI for even people who code today, okay? Now, learn where to execute all of this. Learn how to take this syntax that it has generated and what to do with it. If it's a program, maybe you need to learn, you need to like not shy away from the terminal, you need to be able to run that. If it's, you're just testing out something on the browser, learn how to use the browser to like actually paste in a URL, what to do. It's super simple. There are tons of videos to help you do that. Now that's it. Like all you need to do is repeat this, like understand, okay, what is the concept? What is the actual syntax? Observe the concept, understand what this is all about, refine the syntax using AI, learn where to execute this. That's it. Cycle it over, and you have yourself working products, or like even working demos. So I know this because like I've done this with a lot of bootcamp students in the past. I just want to show you other people so that you get inspired a little bit.
And I did it like how we would do in a Swiss hospital.
This being your first app, this is truly impressive.
Thank you.
Good job.
Let me go ahead and add the patient. First time in life writing a web application code.
So we have a phase 1 cancer clinic, and we're building some research labs. We want to start building the base for this future app.
Just a big round of applause in the chat, please. This is excellent. Everybody who's attempted it for the first time.
Thank you. And the credit definitely goes to Vipin.
Yeah, again, Vipin is one of our instructors. Preetham is also here. He's also one of our instructors. And again, it's not that hard once you like start. And again, it will be outside your comfort zone, but that's usually where the magic happens. Okay. Now, I think like once you discover this, I have so many people telling me like, hey, I got addicted to this. Like I'm able to build all of this, and then like it's so wonderful. So I think it's like the closest thing to magic that exists in this world, and I really hope that you do discover that throughout this course if you haven't already. Now, I remember I talked to you about my parents and their ophthalmology center. Now, I really felt that I had discovered magic when I was able to actually implement an openEHR based system that was able to, they were able to use every day, right? Like, so they had a vendor previously, they were like absolutely horrible at like getting their data out and like even adding new functionality. We got it all out. It was such a horrible back and forth to even get that data out. But finally, when we got it out and then we moved it to this new system and things worked, and we are seeing like, I don't know, 100,000 patients every year or so. Like, it's just, it feels good. It feels like, okay, I've contributed something, it works. I've done it for my parents first, and it actually, it's amazing. Now, again, it's the ophthalmology interface, like see the MedBlocks logo there. How do you monetize your openEHR expertise and make money? Like, once you learn about this, what do you do? So, once I started publishing content, like for me, the stream of openEHR queries like never really stopped. Like, I just posted some videos, I've posted a few articles, and people are like, okay, how do I do this with openEHR? How do I do that? They just assumed that I was an expert, but actually when I was doing all of this, I was learning things myself and just like trying to teach myself by posting all of this these videos. But again, I think the real way in which we started looking at all of that and started converting that to paying customers, who are, many of them are like lifelong customers with us, is like, first, again, like you can get a job, right? Like even if you don't run a business, you can get a job. You can train on openEHR, get some work experience, make a nice looking resume. I'll probably hire you, right? Like, if you come to me and if you tell me that you've done all of this, I'll probably hire you if you have enough skills. Now, the second thing is running a business. This is what I've done a lot more of. I don't have that much experience going and getting a job. I've never gotten a job, but I've run a business the last 7 years. So I can maybe talk a little bit more about that with confidence. So the first thing is, again, like getting new clients and then fulfilling existing clients. That's it. If you are able to do both of this well, you have a business. Okay. So how do you get new clients? This is a matrix from Alex Hormozy in his book. I think it's called $100 million sales. And what they talk about is, you have warm outreach where you talk to the people you know, and it's like one-to-one. And then there is cold outreach where you talk one-to-one to the people who you don't know. And then there is like one-to-infinite, which is like to the people you know, which is posting free content. I've probably posted free content, and you probably know me now, and that's like how I got you in this webinar, right? And there is like one-to-many on people who you don't know, which is like running paid ads. What I've noticed is that in healthcare, especially, you need trust, okay? Like they say that healthcare moves at the speed of trust, like healthcare data moves at the speed of trust. So you need people to trust you. And once you build a relationship, it's usually for life, right? So you really can't make a quick buck in healthcare. Like, and again, if you are and if you want to, then healthcare is probably not the right industry for you. There's like so many other ways you can do that. Maybe like create an AI startup or like blockchain or like something. But healthcare is all about like trust, and you need to build trust. You need to build that brand, right? And again, there's a lot more in these books. Like, there's $100 million leads. There's expert secrets. How do you get to know people? Attend conferences. I think they are the most good use of money if you attend good conferences. And again, just don't go to conferences and sit there like just listening to the talks. Actually talk to people, understand like what their problems are, what they are facing. See if your services can be put to use for some of them. And maybe like give a talk at a conference. Usually there are these proposals for just like submitting a talk. And many of the time they accept interesting topics. So go to conferences, network through people who you already know, and post free content. Like, if you learn about something, if you think something is interesting, post something, like maybe make a quick video, maybe post an article. And again, I know there's a lot of AI generated bullshit going on around today. And just talking about your own story, genuinely writing about an experience that you had on maybe like how you used openEHR to actually change something from X to Y. It makes a difference, because there is not really any content on this out there. And if you just are able to contribute to that body of work, one, you also make money. And two, like, because people will read that and they'll come to you and they'll be like, okay, please help me with this problem that I have. But honestly, you're making the world a better place by just putting more out there, because like now people can discover how they're using this. They're getting away from this vendor lock-in, right? So this is again like just people on the openEHR discourse, like you can build a discourse community as well, and openEHR already has the discourse.openehr.org. Just sign up if you haven't already. There's a lot of community engagement going on there, people just posting about okay, like, hey, I have this thing, I have this problem, can anyone help me? So it's like pretty active, okay? Now, the second thing is fulfilling customers. Like firstly, like you gotta have the skill, you gotta know the right things, you gotta learn what openEHR is, you need to be able to build. All of this is well and good, but then the second thing is you need to pick your customers, okay? So I didn't do this before, I sort of learned it the hard way, but you cannot satisfy everyone, okay? It's pretty bad if you do that. As a company or as an individual, if you serve every kind of customer, then you really serve no one well, right? So a good way to look at this is through what kind of budgets you take on and what kind of projects you take on. So for example, initially I used to take on almost anyone who was like, okay, I have a problem with openEHR or FHIR, like I'll be like, okay, cool, here's how we can help you. But after a certain point, we noticed that, you know what, like we want to build a set of open source tools. We want to be able to build a platform that we are able to give to other people. We may want to make this free. So the sort of customers that we can really serve well are the bigger ones, right? Like we can't really help the smaller ones as much, because again, they are also tight on budget, and we know that our teams are more valuable than that. So we gotta choose who we can serve. So once we started doing this, right? Like once we started, you know, for example, like our services usually starts at like around $100,000 a year. So once we started doing this, we noticed that the service that we were able to deliver for these kind of people were drastically better than whatever we did before. And then we just completely stopped taking on smaller budget projects altogether. And again, I'm not saying you should not take small budget projects. If you do, then only take small budget projects and then do a lot of them, right? Then scale accordingly. So once you have a particular customer set, then try your best to optimize for that customer set and then do the best you can for that particular group of people, okay? So for us, it's usually like big healthcare networks, big hospital chains, big enterprises, governments. This is good, right? Like for us, it's good. We are happy, they are happy, everyone's happy. But if you split your attention and you're just like, you know, there's a big project going on, but you also have a small client who's complaining all the time about like some new feature that they want, then you'll be caught in a place where you don't want to be. And again, a lot of people choose the customers, and then once you choose the customers, they choose what kind of lifestyle you have, right? So be very careful when you're choosing your customers. And most of the times we just refer everything else out. Like we just like, okay, these people came to us, I don't think we can work with this. And like on our Slack, we have every day, like we have something or the other where we post, hey, you know what, like we don't have the capacity for this, can someone help with this project, please? So I even got an inquiry from my own hospital, like the hospital where I was copying data, and then they had these different vendors who wouldn't allow them to actually like run the automation. At some point, they contacted us asking like, hey, can you come and implement the EHR fully, like everything, the lab system and all of that, using MedBlocks? Like, can we do that? And as much as it hurts me, they were under this budget, and unfortunately we had to say no. Like it would have made for such a good story if I had come full circle and if we had actually implemented it and like it changed something. But then at a certain point, you're just like, okay, you know who you work well with and who you don't, and you got to be really strict about this. And we did say no a lot. Yeah, I think that's about this. And so let's just recap what we covered so far. I think we are almost 1 hour in. So why separating the data from the app is the only way to build for healthcare? We saw that. How model once use everything changes everything, and like you have maximal data models instead of these minimal small set models. And again, truly mastering openEHR requires you to build, and then you can build anything you want using DARE. And I've shown you some demos just to inspire you. We've finally seen how to monetize your openEHR skills and make money. Now, I know there's a lot of information. There is like there is still a lot more to come in the next few weeks. This is just an orientation webinar. And I know this is a lot. So again, the real learning will actually happen once we start building something and once we start putting things together and you actually actively start creating something. So again, many of you may have seen a lot of tutorials, but then if you haven't really followed along, then like there is that disconnect of, okay, I know that this exists, but then how do I do that? So in the next few weeks, like we'll go over everything. This is again just the orientation. We have the kickoff, we have the demo day. So like I hope all of you will also join us for that. And right now, I just want to ask, like many of you might have joined for free today. I think we have almost like close to 15 people who came in the bootcamp, but many of you may have joined for free. So I just want to ask you, can I take a 10-minute break just to like talk about the openEHR bootcamp? And we also have a special offer for those of you, we usually do at the end of a webinar. Can I take 10 minutes to talk about it? And again, I don't usually like selling, or I don't usually like being salesy. So if you agree and if you say yes, bootcamp, and if there is a lot of you who are interested in purchasing the full version of the bootcamp, let me know in the chat. Just like say yes, bootcamp, and I will continue with the promotion, or I think I'll just go straight to the next one. Okay, so just like let me know in the chat. I will wait for you. All right, I see a lot of people. Sure, interested in learning more. Sure, okay. Let's go ahead. Yeah, and again, for the people who already joined and who already paid, like just like bear with me. I'm sorry, I usually do this, and we do give a good discount for these people to join. Okay, so initially I took a lot of health informatics courses right out of college. I like spent close to $5,000 just on these courses. And again, like I tried to read the openEHR spec itself multiple times. I don't know how many of you have done that yourself, but I didn't get that practical idea about like, what do I really do with this? How do I really build applications? How do I work on real projects, right? So I didn't have that. So I think I spent close to 4 years like actually building this course and like putting the content together. And it's a course that I wish I had when I started. Like if someone were to offer me something like the openEHR bootcamp and I'm just learning, then I would have been like, oh my God, thank you. So I just did something that I wanted for myself. Now, again, what's the most effective way to learn? You can sit in lectures, you can follow along with webinars. I know many of you have been listening to this webinar, but it is a very inefficient way to learn. Like no matter how much I tell you in this webinar, no matter how much I teach you, you're not gonna learn as much as the students who are actually going in deep and building, okay? So again, there is the lectures, there is the reading, there is the audiovisual, but then learning by doing and like putting what you learn to use is the best way to actually learn. So that is what the openEHR webinar, the bootcamp is all about. And like it basically forces you to build. Now you have your peer group, you will have a mentor, you'll either have Preetham or Vipin assigned to you, depending on like who you get. And then every week we have a clear goal, right? Like there is a deadline, there is a clear goal, and it just forces you to build, okay? And it's again, a lot of the times you need that push, you need that motivation to actually get you across the line and actually go out of your comfort zone. So the openEHR bootcamp, again, there is no new information that we are going to provide you that's like something you can't already learn, because I learned everything without the openEHR bootcamp, right? Like so it's already there, but the problem is you usually don't take the next steps. You actually don't go there and like actually put things together and build. So we've just made the bootcamp in such a way that it's an intense 10 weeks where you just do everything, right? And then we'll forcefully like just make you do everything. We'll hold you accountable. And we found that really works and motivates people to do things. So what will you be building? So you will be building your first openEHR template in the first 2 weeks. All of you are welcome to join us there. Then afterwards, the second module onwards, I think it's only for the people who buy and who are staying with us. You'll build your first real openEHR application. Then the third one is you'll build a complex form with a lot of complex practitioner-related information. So you'll learn how to model this, what kind of archetypes to use, and so on. Then finally, fourth, you'll build that same form as an application. So you'll build that so that a practitioner is able to actually use and enter data using that. And then number 5, you'll actually build a clinical dashboard which unifies all of this data, and then you can chart and you can see all this data in one place. Okay. So what do you get? I just want to show you the value of what you get, right? Just the exclusive pre-recorded videos alone, I have already sold for 1,500. There are so many people who just want the videos, and that alone I think is worth like 1,500. You don't get this anywhere else. There's like no real equivalent to the content that we have. You also get one-on-one sessions with our instructors. All of these our instructors are top-notch developers who are literally like building in the field and working with openEHR on a day-to-day basis. That alone is worth 3,600. And then I say 20 sessions, but then usually like it's as many sessions as you want until you're comfortable with your app. Okay. You also get coding tutorials. I just want to tell you what these code samples are worth and how much we have billed real customers for just like building them. The first openEHR template is like, I would say $0 because you're getting it for free. So right now, technically it is $0. Then you get the build your first openEHR application. We charge like at least $3,000 for this code sample that you're going to get. The real world complex from anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, but like at least $5,000. The practitioner facing application, again, a practitioner can really use this application to enter data, at least $15,000 US. And a unified clinical dashboard where you see all of this information. And just for doing this for customers, we have charged them a lot more. Okay. So on top of this, what do you get? You can also become a certified partner with us if you are interested, or again, like a lot of people also recognize MedBlock certified partners. So if you are willing to go through that, then we waive off the certified partner fee that we usually have of $2,000. So the total value of what you're getting is $45,000 US. Now, this is similar to, again, like an intense engagement with our team. Like, in fact, we usually have our services engagement for $45,000 a quarter. What you're getting is close to that. Okay, like in value, you're literally getting around 3 people who are in touch with you every single day. You have all of these videos, you have real world working code samples. So if I were to offer it at 45,000, even then I would say that yes, you are getting a good deal. But of course, I'm not crazy, but like, so what am I actually offering this at? It's $1,499 only, but hold up, there is more. So you also get 100% money back guarantee if you're not happy. Like if you just ask for a refund, we'll give it to you, no questions asked. There have been instances where people have asked us for a refund after 2 years because they said that, hey, I just wanted, I couldn't get into the course and I didn't have the time then, and we don't ask any questions. Like if you want a refund, you get a refund. And I don't want you to like exploit that, but again, if you're not happy, we don't keep your money, okay? You also get a certificate of recognition, and by the way, I am an openEHR recognized instructor, so that also counts maybe on your CV, or if you are applying for bids, they usually ask like if you're trained by an openEHR recognized instructor. We happen to be one. Okay. Now, what do participants say about our boot camps and the way in which we teach in general?
Epic or APIs calls or anything like that. It's very challenging. I personally tried to look at a little bit of my own and I couldn't figure most of this. So this really, really pushed me. This is an excellent course. This is well worth it.
My JavaScript was pretty weak, non-existent almost. The course made it easy. The course is amazing. I think if you want to do anything with FHIR, this is really the best course you can take.
The pace, the format of the course, the kickoff classes and then follow-up classes, everything has been really good.
This course is like forcing me in a good way to learn coding every week. I found that like I have accomplished new things.
What this class is helping me do is have vocabulary to talk to these developers.
A fantastic course. I was really lucky to get on it last minute. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot.
For this bootcamp, I didn't have all the vocabulary in place. Now, all of a sudden, just because I was in this course, I say, all right, no, there is a way out of it. We can build.
Okay, cool. So we are running a little close on time. So let's we are running at 30% off for the next 60 minutes. Okay, all you need to do is use the coupon code webinar30 at checkout, or I think it will be enabled by default as well if you go to just medblocks.com/openEHR. So again, we are running it only for the next 60 minutes, and I think there's a countdown timer right now. So if you want to get in, this is probably the best offer that you will get. Okay, so questions. Let's just talk about questions, and I think we'll take a few questions. I'll first answer quickly the usual questions that I get. I'm not technical, should I enroll? Yeah, this depends on your time commitment. I'm not saying anyone who's not technical will be able to go through it successfully. You do need time to learn these new concepts and then like apply them. So I would say somewhere around a few hours every day where you're able to like actually work on the bootcamp problems. And I do see someone asking what sort of time commitment you need on a daily basis. So in terms of hours per week, I would say like around 10 hours per week if you're not technical, and like 4 per week if you're technical. Okay, so that would be a good estimate. I think I have this from Parag Singh. I don't know what the name is, but yeah, this is the time commitment. Also, what tech stack will we be targeting? So all of the tutorials and the coding tutorials are in JavaScript and TypeScript, but you are free to submit your answers and like your actual applications in any tech stack. So anything that you're interested in, you can submit, and we'll still validate, and we'll still as long as it runs, that's fine, right? So you can. Some people have looked at the JavaScript tutorials, but they have built it in like .NET or Java or like other technologies. So that is completely fine. I think some of it is in JavaScript and some of it is in Java as well. So I think it depends on what you want, but you can pick and choose what technology you want to use. So when do the live classes happen? So it would be 1 hour before the start of this webinar. So I think depending on your time zone, it's like around the same time, just like 1 hour ahead of the starting time. So yeah, that's when we have the live classes again every day on Thursday until the bootcamp ends. All right, what if I can't attend the live classes? Then no worries, all live classes also get recorded. You're able to like catch up, you're able to do this later as well. Can I discuss anything in the one-to-one sessions? Yeah, pretty much all of the instructors are pretty good at what they do, and if you have any questions related to your app or just in general, maybe an architecture advice on something that you're building in your real job, that's fine as well. We're pretty open to discuss as a consultant as well, so you could utilize that. And is there a time limit to complete the course? We do try to push everyone by 10 weeks, but then if you're not able to complete it, you do have lifetime access to the course. So we've had people buy now, but then do it in another cohort. And then again, if you're not able to finish that in that cohort, we keep moving you to another cohort. So you're free to join us, and you will have access to all of our boot camps in the future. We even have some people joining us on like other cohorts just to like catch up with the live classes and just to see the kind of people who joined. So it's a good community. If you want, you can again like move yourself to any cohort that you want. You don't need to necessarily finish it in this cohort. Are there any prerequisites for this bootcamp? Again, it's just if you're non-technical, time. And if you are technical, you still need a little bit of time to like sit down and actually work through this. Being a clinician helps, but then it is not really mandatory, right? Like we will teach you enough about health care and the workflows and like what the data models look like, so that even if you're like completely technical, you can sort of understand how the healthcare side looks like and what you can do with it. All right, I'll take some questions from the audience. And I am a student doing masters in health informatics. Is it appropriate for me to join now? I think so. I think we do have a lot of students in health IT joining us, both the FHIR as well as the openEHR bootcamps, and it's pretty good. I don't know what they teach in health IT courses these days, but many of them like come in, they learn how to really build, and they go happy, right? Like they just like, okay, now I'm able to actually use this and put this to use. So I think it's pretty good. You could join us this cohort if you're interested. Again, I think I answered this. Any other questions? Again, like do let me know in the comments down below quickly if you have any other questions about the bootcamp, just questions in general. I'm here to answer. That's what we'll be spending the rest of the time. And after that, I think we'll be ending the bootcamp. So I did see a lot of introductions which I was not able to read on time. So just, all right. I see Keisha, hi, from Jamaica. They're already part of the bootcamp. So I see some Spanish here. I think it's from Salud, from Costa Rica. Okay. Is this Spanish? I'm not sure. All right. So I think Laura says really likes Sidharth's phrasing as using openEHR when working within the same context. Yes. It's again like interoperability versus interop. It's a good argument to have. All right. Let's see. I was planning on signing up anyway. The 30% is a nice nudge to do it. Yeah, we do. But again, like we run it just for an hour, so only those people who sign up in that hour get it. Not a lot of people hang around till the end. So we just like it's a nice way for us to reward those who stick around in the webinars as well. Yeah. So tell me about the certification. Again, like we do have a certification. We are a openEHR recognized instructor. So the certificate that we provide you is like a valid openEHR certificate. So you do get that, and other people throughout the world recognize that. And again, like you can show that as a valid certificate even on tenders and bids. So usually sometimes big country openEHR implementations, they require that a consultant should be openEHR or recognized by some sort of training that they've undergone. So that does count. And again, like if you're able to go through our bootcamp and finish all of the apps, but again, we are not really the easiest certification to get. There are other people, like for example, Hannah and Rosaldo, they are doing a little easier courses that you can take. This is like deep dive immediately and you gotta start like building. So it is intense, but if you're able to do it, I think you'll probably come out as the most knowledgeable about openEHR as compared to the other courses. So is this course favorable for startup founders in health IT? If you are a health IT founder and you are building yourself and you want to build as well, then yes, I would say for sure. I have a lot of people from startups joining, and usually they take and use their openEHR skills. They, especially in the EU, there's a lot of momentum around openEHR. Even in the US, it's like starting. So they're able to like quickly apply these principles and get ahead of the curve, right? Like get ahead of that competition. So it's more of a disruptive change that's coming up. So a lot of founders also take the course. All right, openEHR verification support and examination support. I'm not really sure what this means. Maybe if you can rephrase the question, I think that will be helpful. Do you have any use case where both FHIR and openEHR coexist? Absolutely. So in fact, even in a lot of systems, openEHR doesn't handle everything. So you still need demographics. And again, there is a specification in openEHR for demographics, but then it's not as mature yet. So people use openEHR just for the clinical side of things. They use FHIR for storing personal details of the patient or the practitioners that are on the system and other things. So again, like FHIR and openEHR, pretty complementary to each other. You can also like convert openEHR to FHIR and FHIR to openEHR. We have an open source library called openFHIR that does that as well. So if you're interested, you can check that out. What is the outcome of this course? Where do we implement this? So what you will be doing is you'll be building all of these different applications yourself, and then you'll be showing a demo of the applications that you've built. Each application, again, like we'll start the kickoff next week on the first app that you're going to do, which is like building your first openEHR template. You would have a specification of what exactly you are supposed to build. And then in the next week, we'll again have you show that and like actually check if you've done that. Okay, so you will be implementing it for yourself. You're not going to deploy it anywhere in like a real production environment. But again, I have a lot of people who take the bootcamp, but they're also working on the side for their own company or for a real world project, and then they use the skills and then they actually do a real world deployment as well. There have been people who've told me that just taking the bootcamp, they were able to get like a really huge project, and now they are actually building and doing openEHR every single day. So that also might happen. But in the bootcamp, you just need to follow the spec and like actually build something for the requirements asked for in each module. Is there an official certification in openEHR? Is this course enough to prepare for the official certification? There is no such official certification on openEHR yet. You just take the courses offered by the openEHR recognized instructors, and if they think you are fit enough to get an openEHR certificate, then we will provide you one. And in our case, you get an openEHR certificate if you are able to finish 4 out of the 5 applications, which again is one of the harder courses, but then people do recognize the openEHR bootcamp certification as being something a little separate from just like general openEHR certification. So we do provide openEHR certification along with this course. openEHR license and certification exam fee is included. There is no such exam. So it's just if you're able to build these apps, we are able to provide you with the certification. FHIR has these examinations and like certification fee. We don't. So everything is included. And yeah. So what are the system requirements? Are we given access to the MedBlocks environment? You're given both. You actually are able to run the openEHR server on your own system as well. And anything with higher than 2 cores CPU and like 8 GBs of RAM would be more than enough. But you also get access to our environment. You get access to our cloud environment, so you are able to use that openEHR server to test and build all of these applications as well. So that's it. Does becoming a certified partner mean with openEHR, MedBlocks, or both? This is just with MedBlocks. openEHR again does not have like a certified partner program. This is just MedBlocks. Like we have a list of certified partners who we refer a lot of work to on the daily. So that's about it. It's just MedBlocks. It's not openEHR. Is it anywhere related to users care quality? I think so. Like the care quality really, if you are able to put all the data in one place, then you are able to improve the care quality, right? Like so, I think a technology like openEHR does go a long way in improving care quality. Yeah. So, like FHIR support on cloud, do we have something for openEHR? Right. So again, you are able to deploy open source openEHR servers like Airbase on the cloud of your choice, like AWS, Google, Azure. Now, there are also vendors in openEHR, just like you have FHIR vendors. There are vendors like Better, Code24, Vita Group, all of whom also offer commercial openEHR solutions and like servers. So you can like contact them and they will probably give you a commercial offering as well. And some of them like work closely with cloud providers like Azure and AWS to have like a one-click deploy of their stack. If I'm looking for job-oriented course, does this bootcamp help? Again, I don't guarantee that you'll get a job because of the bootcamp, but then if you are able to utilize your skills after you learn all of this, I've seen a lot of people get good jobs. I've also seen a lot of people take independent projects. Yep. So, yep, makes sense. Thanks. Well, I learned how to set up my own FHIR server and other dependencies. Absolutely, yeah. We go through this in the second module, and in fact, actually, no, you go through this even in the first module. You will know how to set it up on your own local system as well as like on the cloud. So we go through this in depth. All right. So I still see 42 of you hanging around. If there are any other questions, do let me know. I think I can try and answer them quickly. And again, thanks for joining the orientation webinar, and we'll see you again. Like I'll see you in the next week. Looking forward to seeing you. But let me just quickly see if there are any more questions. If not, I think we'll end this. Yeah. Are you aware of its use in the Middle East? There have been a lot of people who've actually considered openEHR seriously in the Middle East. There was one project where I think this was the NEOM project where they wanted to like build electronic health records. I think they were going openEHR at some point. And yeah, like I think there's a lot of interest in general. There was recently a conference in the Middle East about all of this, and there were a lot of people interested in openEHR in general. So I think that the interest is growing globally. All right. So let me see, how does joining the course help me with warm leads? It doesn't help you directly. The bootcamp itself helps you with the skills that you need. The warm leads, you will still need to do something, like either post content, either go to conferences, or like do other things. So, but it is something that you can learn, and I did link to those 2 books. Like I think Alex Hormozy is pretty good. Russell Brunson is pretty good. Like just like follow these people. I think they have enough content and books on how to get leads. Yep. Local machine requirements. Again, I think minimum of 2 CPU and like 8 GB of RAM would be good enough. So let's see. What are the advantages of openEHR over next-gen EHR, Cerner EHR, or any other US-based healthcare EHR? The first thing is you can move out if you don't want, right? Like, and then you are able to take this data and then you are able to actually move out to another application fully without data loss. That cannot be said for something like Epic or Cerner. We've had, and again, even NextGen, we've had hundreds of, like so many millions of dollars poured into these big projects where they just try to take data out of Epic. And sometimes even contractually, they just block you from taking all of this data out. Right? So the data doesn't belong to you, it doesn't belong to the patient, it belongs to that vendor. Now, can you access all of this data fully through APIs? The answer is again, no, because they only build APIs for a subset of things that you can do on the system. Their own EHR will always be better at doing a particular workflow than they allow an external app to be, because that's again a business problem, right? Like it's a business advantage to keep all of the workflows within your own siloed application. So what happens is that you don't get control over the data, you don't get control over your workflows, right? But with an approach like openEHR, you completely break this whole problem. You have a data platform that's completely separate from the applications. The data platform vendor has no incentive to go and like build these different applications and like, you know, lock you in, and applications can come and go, they can like do what they want. And again, like you have full API access to the underlying data. You can do whatever you want. You can take this data out and move if you don't want. So I would say those are the key advantages. What is the frequency of this bootcamp? Like if I'm not able to join now, we run this every quarter. So it's a quarterly thing. But again, like I think next year we might reduce the frequency and take more people in one batch. We might just run it once every like 3 times a year. But we'll see. Mostly we'll announce the next bootcamp once this cohort gets over. Really depends on a lot of things, but like usually we've been running it every quarter. When again is your FHIR bootcamp starts? Okay, the FHIR bootcamp, I think we are just getting over with one cohort right now, so the next one will start in another month or 2. I think they're on the final app with the FHIR bootcamp. They'll start again in another month or 2. I think we're gonna also see the other projects that we get. So thanks for the overview, and next time see you all in the bootcamp. Yeah, excellent. I'll see you in the bootcamp, and I'll see you all next week as well. Again, any other questions, I can take it. If not, next week, just 1 hour ahead of the start of this webinar, I think you'll have a invite sent to all of your calendars. So I will see you there. And again, once again, thank you for joining me. If you haven't already signed up, I'll show you what to do. Just go to medblocks.com/openEHR, and you will usually get an enroll now immediately. And this is like it's a countdown timer here as well. Just click on enroll now. And again, the first module is free. You can start going through this for the next class. You do need to know all of this, so you can start. But the second module is what we are, like second in all of the other modules is what the offer is on. So just click on enroll now. You'll be taken to Stripe, and you already get the coupon code applied, so you don't need anything. So you just need to like pay through Stripe, pay in whatever currency you want. That's about it. So cool. let's see, when platforms synergistically use openEHR and FHIR, what is the purpose of dual CDRs for clinical data? So we actually don't do dual CDR. They usually have different purposes. So again, like openEHR doesn't cover the demographic side of things. They don't cover how do you, again, like if you take a look at the clinical archetypes, there's a lot of admin stuff that they haven't done well, which FHIR has. So again, it's more of a data modeling problem where openEHR has like thousands of like clinical archetypes, but then they don't go into the more mundane admin stuff. And usually some people don't even use a FHIR platform for that. They use something else. They use an ERP or they use an HIS or something else for the admin stuff. But openEHR does clinical records really well. And that's something that you can use it for. Okay, that's about it. I think I have Preetham answer some questions as well here. Thanks a lot, Preetham, for joining. I know it's late for you, but thank you once again. And again, if you are interested in joining us this season, please do go to medblocks.com/openEHR. It's right here. You will see again, like, I'll show that again, medblocks.com/openEHR. And you should go on the second module here, just like click on enroll now, go to Stripe, finish the payment, and you'll have access to the rest of the course. We don't offer the discount again that frequently, so like please do try to make a payment by then. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you one and all for joining. And if you have any queries, like you can always write to me or my team, just like learn@medblocks.com. We'll be happy to like help you out or assist you in any way. And yeah, have a great rest of the week. Bye.